everyone? This is Spartan PC bringing you a new video today. Today we are going to be installing Pi-hole onto a Raspberry Pi. I am going to do it on a Raspberry Pi Zero W. You can also do it on really any Raspberry Pi that has access to the internet. This is really great. It's like your own personal network ad blocker. You can also kind of configure things to have a VPN as well, so that you, even when you're outside of your house, you can VPN into your own network and be able to still have the ad blocking function. It isn't foolproof, like it doesn't block everything, but it does make it safer. And then we'll just go over how it works as we install it. So you're going to come to pi-hole.net. I'm already on here. It's a really big project. It's free. It's a free source. So you don't have to pay for it, but they do have donations. So, you know, go and donate to them. They've done a really good job. So if you guys don't have your Raspberry Pi and everything all set up, I have another video that talks about how to set it up. So, you know, right here, you just need to have, you know, one of these systems installed. I'm using Raspbian Lite, which doesn't have a desktop environment to it. It's just headless. So you're going to want to come down here to install Pi-hole. Click on that. It's going to come up with the GitHub. Great site. And this is your one-step automated install. Be careful with curling, things that you aren't sure about. This is fine to curl, but don't just curl any code into your terminal, because it can, you know, have viruses and stuff like that. So you're going to bring up your terminal. You're going to want to SSH into your Pi, or if you're, you know, on your Pi, you know, you have it on a monitor, then you don't have to SSH into it. But so I'm going to put the IP address that I assigned it. It's going to ask me for the password. And now we're going to be able to just copy this right here. And we're going to, let me make sure I'm on my right Raspberry Pi. Yeah, okay. And you're just going to click enter, and it should just run through it. It'll, oh, you got to make sure you use sudo as well. You got to have root privileges. So it'll just run through. It'll install some things, and it'll come up with an interface, which is really nice. So I'll just talk a little bit about Raspberry Pi, the Pi-hole, as we go. So essentially what it does is it acts as a DNS server for your router. So instead of your router sending all of your traffic and all of your requests and DNS requests to, you know, just an open DNS server somewhere like Google or, you know, Firebase or whatever it may be, it's going to send it to your Raspberry Pi first, and the Raspberry Pi is going to have a list on it. So that list is, it has about 60,000 URLs that are known to have, you know, high amounts of ads. That's really all they're used for, is ads. So what it'll do is it'll cross-reference and be like, okay, does this have a URL in it that I'm going to block? And so it basically just blocks all the URLs, and it will run, let the other ones run. And so your Pi-hole will connect to a DNS server. As you'll see, we'll choose what DNS server we want to use. So it will send those requests to the DNS server, get it back, and then it will send it to the router to, you know, route out all the information to your devices. It's really lightweight, which is really nice. You can run it on a Raspberry Pi Zero. I'm running one right now. This is a different Raspberry Pi, but I'm just showing you how to set it up. So it'll, you know, run through this. I only have a 8 GB micro SD card on it. So it's, you know, it's really lightweight, which is really nice. It costs, you know, $10 for the Raspberry Pi Zero W. You do have to have a couple more things to set it up. So, you know, all those YouTube videos about, oh, $10 network ad blocker, like, it's going to cost you more than that unless you already have, you know, the adapters and everything for it. But I'd say you could probably, you know, a decent like 20, 25 bucks for it. So, you know, that's really not bad. And I'll show you some other functionalities that it does have, but you can also, you know, blacklist things. You can whitelist sites. You have a lot of control over it, which is really nice. I know you can do a lot of stuff like this, you know, configuring your own router, but this is just really nice. Okay, so if you get this error, It's because it's not detecting the operating system because I have Raspbian Lite on it. It wants the full one. So what you're going to do is right here, it gives you the code to skip that. So I know that it's going to work, so I'm just going to skip that. We'll run it again. And hopefully it will not take as long this time. But so yeah, it'll run through. You know when it works because it will bring up a little interface. All right, let's try this curl one instead. Okay, so hopefully this will run through it. I'll probably just skip because I kind of already told you guys about it, so I'll probably just skip to when the interface comes up. Okay, so now it comes up with the interface, Pi-hole automated installer. Installer will transform your device into a network-wide ad blocker. Don't be afraid of this little interface. It's not gonna, you know, completely erase everything that you already have on a Raspberry Pi. You can run a bunch of things along with Pi-hole. So you're gonna click OK. Pi-hole is free but powered by your donations, so go donate. So it's a server, so it does need a static IP address. I already have a static IP address that I set up on my Raspberry Pi, but I'll show you guys how to do that. So you're going to want to choose your upstream DNS provider. Really, any of them, it doesn't really matter. On mine that I'm using right now, I'm using Cloudflare, so we'll just choose that one. You're going to want to use the selected lists. You can add more. Press space to toggle selection. So you want it to block ads over IPv4 and IPv6. So that's good. You don't need to change any of those. So do you want to use your current network settings as a static address? So mine is static, but I'm going to show you guys how to set that. So we'll say no. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to type in, it has to be a non-routable IP address. So these usually works, you know, 192.168.1. You know, 250 something. Don't go above 255. Probably, you know, 250, 251, anything like that is fine. And the /24 is the subnet mask. So I'm just going to keep it like that. Your desired IPv4 default gateway, it's different for different people. It's basically what you type into your browser to get to your router. So just, you know, it's pretty easy to look up. So these IP settings are correct, yes. And then it's going to use this IPv6 to block ads, okay. Which should install the web admin interface. I definitely recommend this. This is an awesome feature. So we're going to do that. And then, yes. Do you want to log queries? Yes. Privacy mode, I just show everything. And then it's going to run some more code. So the web interface, I'll show you guys that in a second. So basically, you're going to have to configure your router as well so that it will only send your requests to the Pi-hole, and also you have to change the DHCP requirements so that it doesn't randomly assign the same IP address, this, you know, .251 to another device on your network. If it's a pretty high number, like it usually won't just automatically, but it's better just to change it so that it doesn't accidentally do that, because then, you know, your whole internet's going to be down and you're like, what's going on? And it's because you know, your DHCP server on your router made your phone, you know, be the DNS server, and so then it's not going to work very well. Okay, so that should just go through. I'll check back on it in a second. I don't think you need to do really anything else. It should just, you know, start working. So what we'll do is we'll go on, I'll show you what you need to do in the router. So here's my router right here. So you want to go to your advanced and network settings, your LAN settings. The Pi-hole actually can work as a DHCP server. I don't recommend it because it uses a lot more processing power, and most routers already do it anyway. So these are the start IP addresses. So you don't want it to include your IP address that you just set for your Pi-hole. So, you know, usually it'll be like .255 or whatever. So you just want to make it so that it's not going to automatically assign one that you put in there. It doesn't really matter what you start at. You can start at 1. I just start at 10. And then your primary DNS, you're going to make it so that it will reflect your Pi-hole. So the one we just made would be .251. The one I'm using right now is .250, and your second DNS just all zeros. So it's going to route everything to your Pi-hole. So this is still creating, mostly what it's doing right now is creating the web interface. So I'll show you guys that right now. So here is the interface. So it's pretty easy to get to. You're just going to type in the IP address of your Pi-hole and then /admin/index.php. And it'll take you to a login page. The way you actually change the password for the login page is you do this command right here, sudo pi-hole -a-p, and you can change the password for this interface. So this is honestly the coolest thing about Pi-hole is it will log all of your queries. So this is like how many DNS requests were blocked and permitted. Shows how many domains you have, the percent, how many queries, how many clients you have, the temperature of the Pi-hole, you know, all this stuff. There's all these query logs, long-term data, whitelist. It shows like the activity of your IP addresses down here too. You can see like the queries that were answered. It shows like all of the ones that were permitted and blocked. You can come into tools and you can actually update gravity, which is going to update the amount of the list. So the list of blocked IP addresses. I recommend doing this like once every 2 weeks, once a month. You don't have to do it that often, but they do actually update it pretty often, and it's always nice to just be up to date. And then, you know, every once in a while, you can also see when there's an update for Pi-hole. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it'll say like the version and if there's an update. And that's a pretty easy thing to do. You just need to type in your Pi-hole. So when you're in the terminal, you just do sudo pi-hole -up, which means to upgrade, and it will, you know, run through it all itself. As you saw, the only thing that kind of was weird was since we were using Raspbian Lite, it didn't like that. So we had to skip the operating system check, which is pretty easy. You just curl it, and then you do basically, you just copy that same code that I did into there. So it's still running. This is the one that I'm actively using. That's why I have data on it. But it's pretty easy. I mean, you just, you know, install this, and then you will you know, configure it on your router so that it routes to it, and you're pretty much ready to go. You can do other, like I said, other things along with Pi-hole, but it's pretty awesome. You know, like I said, it's not foolproof. Like I can go onto a website and it will still show ads, but it's going to block a lot of them. It also makes your internet faster because it's not sending out as many requests, so it doesn't have to send out as much data, and so it doesn't receive as much data. So over time, it also makes your network faster, which is super nice. And it, you know, if this guide didn't help you, like you can look on here, like it has like Pi-hole and VPN right here, so you can figure out how to do that. So yeah, this will install. I'm pretty sure that there's nothing else to do. I mean, I think you just have to reboot it, and then it should be working. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Hopefully you enjoy your new Pi-hole. Please like and subscribe, and as always, have an awesome day.